Hello, my name is Elizabeth Mans, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition show. If I'm not lining up on the camera right, it's because I don't have a video feed to guide me. But in the meantime, we will proceed as best as we can. This is the February 3rd, 2020 show. It is week 281. 281, I'm sorry, and the 253rd show that we have done since the closing of the North Adams Regional Hospital. The April 4th Coalition's mission statement is, we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich, corporations who ship our jobs overseas. I shouldn't be taping the show tonight. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is the custom, we put the emphasis on Article 23. And as we have an extra guest, Dick would like her to do number 2, so I'm going to ask Mike to share his with her.
And you're doing great, Liz. I mean, you must be really tired after 253 shows.
I'm exhausted, man. Anyway, so Dick is going to do number 1. Emily has number 2.
Number 4.
You want number 3?
I want in.
No, I'm doing 3.
Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I guess I'm being out-directed. All right.
We're trying to lure Emily to become a permanent member of our board because, you know, we need to get younger people involved, and we need to hear the younger voices.
You've been calling for the young to get involved.
We want intergenerational.
You've been calling for it for weeks, Mike, so you shouldn't be surprised somebody took you up on the offer.
So I'll do Article 23, number 1. Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment.
Number 2, everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for herself or himself and her or his family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection.
Number 4, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of their interests.
Very good.
Nice.
Nice. Normally at this point, I thank Michael Putnam for airing our show on Fridays on the radio at 6 p.m., I believe. Mm-hmm. And the radio station is WMNPLP 107.1. Did I get it right, Rachel?
You did.
See, I'm doing it without a card. So it's really
impressive, very impressive, Liz.
No, not really. I'm just winging it tonight, and we're going to be winging it for the entire show because we're not going to have video feed for a little while.
But yeah, that gives us time to share our own input as to what's going on. Mm-hmm. And there's a few things that are going on nationally, and there's some local things. We like to celebrate, or not celebrate, commemorate anniversaries, and next March will be the anniversary of the illegal closing of our full-service hospital.
This coming March.
Yeah, in March,
28th.
next month. Yeah,
Yep.
March 28th. We'll
we will be acknowledging and
Right.
highlighting the closing of our hospital.
and maybe come up with some questions. You know, like how has this wellness move that Berkshire Health System seemed to institute as soon as they closed the hospital? They said we were going to move towards a wellness model. How is it working out? How about, you know, what's the impact? Has it been successful? You know, this transition of no hospital in North County, or what effects has it had on our community? Maybe
Well, I'm more interested in what they are not doing with the opioid alcohol abuse and the loss of a hospital, mental health unit, and beds. We need beds, inpatient beds, and that is not going to go away. And you know, you can keep circling and circling and circling and saying this and that is working, but
Can I say something about the mental health beds?
Yeah.
My family has a history of mental health problems, and recently she was put to she had to go to Jones 5 for a while, and I never got a chance to visit her because it's all the way in Pittsfield.
And you have no transportation
I have
down.
no transportation to get there. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know her diagnosis until recently because I couldn't go up there to visit, to talk to her doctors. It's just frustrating because
Because you would much rather have had her up here where you could
yes,
have
where I could
visited
have
her?
visited. Because the only person who could have gotten to Pittsfield was my sister because she works up there. But everyone else, my grandparents are both mostly homebound. My aunt's is helping her boyfriend take care of his mother, and I don't have a car, so it's difficult when you have a family member who's either sick or having mental health problems and you can't go see them and you don't know what's going on.
Well, it's those personal stories that are magnified
Yeah.
in this community by how many have happened. And, even when my mother was dying, she was in the new critical care unit at the North Adams Hospital. And there was a blizzard. I wouldn't have been able to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get there to see her.
Had it been
And
anywhere
that's
else.
heartbreaking.
Yep.
And not only does it have a bad effect on you, but it also has a bad effect on your mother, who's the patient, because patients need, there's studies that have been done, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought reading in the past that patients do better, they recover better when they have contact with family, during their convalescing period.
Yeah.
Well, I know many people who will not seek medical treatment simply because they don't want to be away from the family or
That's one of the
be
reasons
elsewhere.
why.
Senior citizens don't want to go all the way to Pittsfield. They won't.
And let alone Springfield or Boston,
it's
which
just
is
no.
or Albany, depending on how your insurance plays out.
Remember, there's always money to keep the hospital open if Governor Duvall would have used it. And he's running for president. He couldn't even run the state right.
Because that's something that candidates really, you need to hear on the national media, the local reaction and local information from residents who have been in contact with that national person who's running for, president or
Any office.
any, Senate or U.S. rep. We need to know nationally or state, you need to know what their connection has been locally. And the stories like Deval Patrick, he could have saved our hospitals, one of the people that could have.
Could have.
He was a point person, I think, in this one.
Yeah.
He was the governor, and he could have declared a state of emergency and kept that hospital open. I mean, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I knew that you don't let the doors close. You
Never.
keep them open. Because once
And
those
I think
doors...
the famous excuse was he didn't know who was going to run it. He could have appointed somebody to oversee the board who was running it. That wasn't that hard of a hurdle
You
to
keep it
solve.
open. All those,
If he couldn't step in at that moment and make a decision that was good for the city of North Adams, he sure the hell isn't going to do it if he became president.
It's also North County's, not just the city of North Adams, 37,000 plus.
North County.
North County.
North County, the largest
In southern
geographic
Vermont,
region
too.
without one in the state. And we have to listen, and sadly, I get the feel that BHS is perfectly happy to continue trolling the wellness line until somebody calls them on it. That wellness is the way to go. The
Well,
problem,
that means all of
the
the
problem
people-
with go ahead.
What does that mean? Wellness is the way to go.
It
If we
means
don't
if
have
you
a
take
house-
care of yourself, you won't need us. Is
That's
essentially
not
the-
true.
Go ahead. Why is it not
The
true?
point of medical health is preventative, not just when you get sick. You're supposed to be able to prevent illness in the first place. To do that, you need doctors. To do that, you need diagnosis. To do that, you need medication. Things like mental health, you need medicine for that. Things like making sure you early screening for cancer. You can't wait on those things. You need to have a medical system in place so you can have people, get wellness. It's not just one factor. It's a variety of factors that go into making sure you have a healthy community.
Oh, I
But also
agree.
you have to deal with people who have chronic illnesses, and of course
Yes,
then when
for
you see
forever.
the pharmaceutical, the over
another-
drugging of people.
Yeah, that's another problem.
Yeah,
That is a major problem.
There-
That is a major problem
They're-
because we, up here, you now have overworked doctors who have absolutely no idea what their patients are taking.
Yeah.
They don't even have a record system that keeps track or warns them when there's a conflict between medications. They rely on the pharmacist to tell you, and now our pharmacists are overworked because there's fewer and fewer of them around. So
On the-
they're not always catching the ball either.
On the pharmaceutical end, one thing I read was that one of the worst things to happen to healthcare is having capitalism go into healthcare.
Oh,
It is not a system that needs to have a capitalistic, like, make money model. It's a system that should be, we're here to help the patient. It's not, we're here to make money.
It's called capitalism.
Capitalism.
Grabbitalism.
Grabbitalism.
Grabbing and greed.
Grabbing and greed is
My
what's
new word. I
destroying.
just made
You can
up
tell
that
I'm a
word.
bit of an anti-capitalist.
And you know, no, I don't, see, we used to be a socialist capitalist country, and now we're pure capitalists. It's,
Well,
It's disheartening.
you have to go into.
That's not true. That's not true. We are part capitalist. The problem is part capitalist, part socialist. The problem is we're socialist when it comes to the rich.
to the rich. We are just not.
Everyone
not
else,
for everybody
we're
else, no.
capitalists. The rich, they get all the.
Oh no, Mike,
all
you
the-
don't get to sit there and smirk. What does the smirk mean? Come on, bring it out.
I'm just listening to the discussion. It seems great.
Yeah.
But it's
Well-
not-
He's
it's-
waiting to put his zinger in.
No,
This
it's,
is
I don't think
interesting.
I got to say, talk about the hospital, which I think is one of the most critical things in North Adams that we're missing.
Yeah.
And the problem here, you got people who could have done something, didn't do a damn thing about it. I mean, you got people who probably died going to Pittsfield. And you're never gonna know about it, but they probably did.
Nope, because they don't tell you that they died down
They
there.
don't. And so therefore, we could have saved some lives by having a hospital in North Adams. The powers that be, they didn't give a damn about us. It's all about money. That's all they gave a damn about, and they still do.
Well,
And
does that lead right into Maynard Cedar?
It does
North
run into-
Adams at a
is at a
crossroads?
crossroads. I'm not going to read the whole entire letter, to be honest, because it's quite
The pertinent
lengthy.
part.
It's quite lengthy, but
And you
essentially,
can direct people to the Berkshire Eagle. What date's that?
oh, this letter was published, well, this commentary was published on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. And basically, Maynard was pointing out that North Adams is at another one of those crossroads. We've been at them many times, and it goes along cyclically. But his main concern appears to be with the developer Krenz, who's been coming back cyclically since 1986 with ideas of how to make North Adams profitable with museums and tourist industry. And currently, he's also thinking of building a hotel in one of our two development zones where there is very little regulation going on.
And who's going to fund it?
He's looking for donors, and apparently he's been over at Williamstown looking for people to help support him. They're not listing any real funders.
Like the $25 million that went into
Question.
Ms.
Massimoka?
Mocha? Yes.
Question that I think is very relevant. He wants to do all this without a functioning hospital.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yes, he's been talking about
that's going to be a
getting
disaster.
He wants a Massachusetts
access to a
Museum
hospital.
Town, the Mount Greylock Distillery, the Global Contemporary Art Museum, Museum for Motorcycles, 3D movie venues, a restored Mohawk Theater, a parking garage that could also serve as an event space, and a 110-room luxury hotel, spa, and wellness center.
This is called gentrifying.
This is called gentrifying
And also to
turning
go
you
back
into a
to-
tour. And Maynard doesn't have a great deal of respect for Mr. Krenz because a lot of these ideas he throws out but never actually completes the development.
Or
and
funds.
He's pointing out that none of this is going to help with the disease of despair, depression, drug abuse that affects the area.
And as Mike brought up, many times when we've talked about the hospital, Mike has said, our community hospital was built because of a train crash with no hospital. And here we are again, and as Mike has said, you have, 25,000 people here for different events at Massimoka.
Okay.
And if there were a crisis, where do they go?
Right. They
Mike?
they get shipped elsewhere, I presume.
What was that list of things he wanted to do for North Adams? Because I'm sitting here like, what did he want? How is any of that going to work in North Adams?
It
Well, the
doesn't.
idea, the list on all the buildings, he, besides the EMRCA, he expected to, which I haven't figured out what that is, erect located near each other in the downtown area, the Massachusetts Museum of Time, the Mount Greylock Distillery, the Global Contemporary Art Museum, a museum of motorcycles, 3D movie venues, a restored Mohawk Theater, parking garage, and that could also serve as an event space. Don't quite know how those two gel, but that's not my concern. 110-room luxury and spa and wellness center. And
Okay.
Maynard asked a very pertinent question with Krentz's plan still on the board. Should a tourist town be the future of North Adams? Who gets to approve the Krenz building plans? How are decisions made and by whom? The mayor, city council, Tom Krenz, and his investors. Let's close with a thought experiment. If the following binding referendum were to be offered to the voters of North Adams, what might their answer be? Do you prefer a luxury hotel or affordable housing to be built in a downtown opportunity zone? That's what the low regulation
Affordable
things are
housing?
called. So,
Affordable.
Gee, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, as someone who is in subsidized housing, affordable housing would be nice.
Yeah, but
Affordable
affordable
housing.
housing, some of the affordable housing that they talk about is not for the people we know, because affordable housing.
No,
is
their-
nothing
their
but a
idea
pipe
is
dream.
what's across-
That's all it is.
is
To me,
across from the
affordable
gas
housing
station.
means if you work somewhere, you can buy a house with the money you make.
Mm-hmm.
Affordable housing is a great name, it's a great gimmick, but it doesn't help the very people that need the help the most.
Right. Weren't we at
That's like
weren't we at a town hall meeting in Williamstown where they defined affordable housing? Let me see if I can get it right. That the rent would be $800 to $900 a month.
That's not affordable housing.
That's a reason.
I don't even make that a month. That's not affordable housing.
That's almost my
That makes
total.
my mortgage look like a bargain.
It's almost my total Social Security that I'm living on.
Absolutely.
I tell you what affordable housing is. It's like what I have is 30% of my income. That's barely affordable. So I'm guessing there's got to be a little bit less than that.
It's got to be a whole heck of a lot less
Yeah.
than that.
I'm
But
serious.
that was
Because they don't factor in other expenditures. They don't factor in
Right.
Heating,
food,
electricity.
heating, electricity, of internet because
And that's right. That
I'm
900 didn't even include any of that. The heat,
Yep.
the electricity.
Well, internet's not a
It's just-
necessity.
Nope, not anymore. Internet is by far a necessity in this modern age because everything is done via internet. You want to apply for
Not
a job?
everything.
You want to apply for a job, you have to go online. You want to do anything, you have to go online to find
But you
it.
could go to the you could go to the
census.
library to use internet.
You can do that, but
But
what
when you're
if you're
talking about
homebound?
subsistence and living, internet is not.
With-
It's a
in the-
necessity
it's a
that you're
necessity-
considering
a
as a
necessity
way of
for-
living, but it's not a
It's a
necessity
necessity for the way of life that we have established. Everyone
Yeah,
wants to go online. Everyone wants to have a website. In order to do that, internet has to be a necessity. Because unless everyone has access to it, there's no point having everything online. But everyone wants to have everything online.
Isn't that how they're doing the census this time? Don't they want people to go online
to
and,
apply for those jobs. You have to.
no,
Yes.
no, the
No, the
census?
census.
No, the census.
Doing
is-
the actual census.
Right.
gotta
Well,
think
to
of
be
the mail.
honest,
Isn't
my
that
town
scary?
mailed it to me.
Isn't that
Not,
scary?
yeah, but the town one is different
You're
than
talking
about the
the
US
federal
census?
census is different than the
Right,
town
and that one hasn't started yet?
No, but it will soon. We're going to get information, but they're asking people to go online to
To do
register.
this.
To do it, and they're going to try to get as many people to do it online. I'm just speaking to the
Yeah.
fact that it's becoming such a part of our society.
And you know, and I used to argue up at MCLA when they started doing the online applications for jobs up there. I said to them, what does the person do who doesn't have access to a laptop, a computer, or, you know, and they said they can go to the public library to do all that, or they can come here and we'll help them fill it out online here. And I'm like going, okay, and what if there are no public libraries? Because public libraries are one of the most seriously underfunded resources in any city or town. I don't care.
And they're not
where
open
you
all
are.
the time
And
either.
they're not open all
And they're
the
the
time.
first ones to get caught, you're right.
Especially if you have a job where you can't get away during the day or you have other obligations and the only time you can do things is at night. The libraries aren't open at night.
Or if you have 2 or 3 jobs.
Just, there's a one night, or are they open 2 nights a week
I
now?
think one, if I really.
As far as I know, one. I think
No.
it's
Thursday night?
I think it's
Yeah,
Thursday.
Thursday
I
night.
think
Oh, I
Monday
know.
12 and Thursday.
Oh,
Monday
okay.
12 to 8 now, which is a
All right.
weird schedule
Yeah.
because that leaves it closed
Oh, yeah,
Saturday
right, yeah, yeah.
afternoon
They're open
and
on Monday?
Sunday.
Yeah, that used to be
Yeah.
something for me when I was a
Now
kid,
12.
on Saturday morning,
It's
being able to go to
confusing
the
because everything
library.
closes
Oh,
on
my
Monday,
goodness,
so I
I
have trouble
lived
keeping
there.
track.
Most things are closed on Monday. I can't figure out why.
It's like our
It's supposed to be
Sunday.
a work day, you know?
Everything's open on Sunday, so they had to take a day.
You had to pick, yes, they did. Okay.
So there's other things that are going on nationally that, you know, we didn't touch on. I'm glad that we were talking more locally, but we've had the impeachment trial in the Senate, and also tonight there's...
So-called
So-called.
trial in the Senate, if I may say.
and
I was
also-
going to use alleged, but okay.
Yeah,
My mental health is going to be so terrible after
With
this
no
conversation.
witnesses.
right, and no,
This is frightening.
Yes,
This is the demolishment of our democracy.
it's definitely
This
that.
isn't, I mean, this is, I just don't know where those so-called Republicans, Trumpians, I have no idea. I mean, good for Mitt Romney and Susan Collins for voting for witnesses.
Witnesses.
but they
2 votes?
didn't, they just voted for hearing Bolton. They didn't vote for other witnesses or other facts to
Gotcha.
be,
They just
it's
wanted
more or less, they
Bolton.
got a hall pass. They knew that what they voted for really wasn't going to pass.
I thought they were
Correct.
voting to allow witnesses.
Well, no, I
One of the-
I
one of the
honestly think
amendments-
Susan went to Mitch and said, I'm in Maine and I'm underwater.
No.
I have to vote no.
She
on
got a
this."
hall pass, but if you look at the votes, there was several amendments, and they didn't vote for the amendment to have call witnesses, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, they didn't vote to have more evidence and witnesses, more documents, and they didn't vote for that. Then there was an amendment just to call Bolton, and those two voted
Voted
for that one. But then there were other things that they didn't vote for, so they sort of picked and choose. They really didn't vote for every amendment that was put in there. So I would urge you to maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I thought it was interesting because they picked and chose what ones. And I think the one that they both agreed on, I know Collins from Maine voted to have Bolton come and testify, but there were other witnesses they didn't vote for.
I thought the major, and we should check this.
Yeah.
The
We
should
major
check
vote
on it.
was whether to have witnesses or not.
And I don't think they
testimony.
voted in that one. I think that one was party
Well,
line.
let's check that.
And then that, you know, but yeah, it's still,
But the
it's,
fact that remains, it's disgraceful, unconscionable, and it's frightening.
yeah. It's
And
one,
to be, you are watching the demolition of a
All our
democracy.
institutions.
right.
all our
One
institutions.
thing that I found out, and I wish I could put it up on a map so we could look at it, is they said 75% of the American people wanted to have witnesses.
Yes, they wanted to
additional
hear the
witness.
story, right.
But then I heard one news analyst say that 75% of the United States population lives in 9 states.
Well, that's
Like,
what happens when you have
quote-
a whole lot of empty states.
Right.
And we
So,
do.
so it could have been those 75% that wanted the witnesses, but they only lived in 9 states.
Well, that's where the people are.
Right, but they only had, 18 senators,
Correct.
if that's
If that's true. yes.
true.
Can we stop pretending to be like a huge country and just admit that all the states are their own country? Because that's what we are. We're
What-
what is it? 50 states all together in a trench coat pretending to be a country. Like we're 50 countries pretending to be one country.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's just the
Well,
concept, I
well,
think.
we're heading that way again. The intent was for the federal government to keep us together and guide us, but instead, we're in disarray again, as opposed to what we were intended to be. Because they tried it where all the states had all the power, and they found that didn't work because it produced the internal squabbling. So they
The
rewrote
Articles
the
of Confed- yeah.
Constitution and took away and tried to create a republic, but we ended up with an oligarchy. Correct, Dick, in your opinion?
I
we-
think,
we
well,
just had
I,
Semi-religious
I guess what I'm
oligarchy.
thinking about is what Rachel said, is that they didn't have witnesses. It really wasn't a trial.
No.
It's-
No, it's not. It
It's-
wasn't even a
it's-
hearing.
Against
If-
everything that jurisprudence is about, our
Mm-hmm.
rule of law.
Let-
You do not have a trial, and the fact that this is the only responsibility of the Senate to have a trial. There have to be rules and laws for carrying on an impeachment. And the House of Representatives did that. They upheld their constitutional responsibility, as uncomfortable as it might have been. But the Senate's responsibility, I mean, Trump is impeached no matter what. But this is
Should be removed from office.
But it's not gonna
absolutely. But the fact you can't have any trial. But this is the only way you can go after someone in the presidency, because you can't supposedly indict a sitting president. I mean, that's just this was the mechanism to protect against that.
Right.
Against that, and the Senate chose not to exercise their right to be an equal branch of power, co-equal branch of power with the executive branch. So now Trump knows, okay, the House is going to continually vote to impeach me for whatever I do, and the Senate is going to let me off the hook, at least until till 2021. And if we're lucky, he's out.
I think the House should go back with the new evidence that's come out from Bolton and other people, and
do it again?
Do another impeachment. You bet.
Well, I like the idea that what it says now. The voters are going to be the judges now. We're going to have to.
But that's still
all that stuff is going to come out. It is.
Yes. But you
it's
still
just-
have that constitutional responsibility of the House, as uncomfortable in an election year. It has nothing to do with being an election
Especially
year.
if you're fixing the election. If that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
What he was accused of is using federal money that was appropriated to a foreign government in extorting them or bribing them to do investigations on his political opponent.
And
That,
I view-
that
I view-
try to
my
cheat the
view,
election.
That is treason. That is the definition of treason.
Well-
An American citizen cannot be in contact with a foreign government. You can.
Treason.
I said that's my.
Right. Treason, I think, is like it's fairly defined that it has to be aiding an enemy that we've declared war on. So it's kind of limited. It's like doesn't want everybody called, you're treasonous because you want socialized medicine, or you're treasonous because, it's if you're allied
I know what
with.
you're saying. The
you have to-
international definition.
Yeah.
Question, would it be treason, therefore, to take information that you have of the government and bring it to another government?
Yes.
If you have
Even if we're not
declared
at war.
war. I don't think so.
If we were to take secret information to another government,
I think you'd have.
confidential information,
I
would
think
that be treason?
I think it's been well talked about and discussed. Like throwing that term around, treason was
What
very
about Snowden?
by the Federalist Papers.
I
Would
think you
Snowden
have
be
to
considered
bring
a
into.
traitor?
Snowden.
I think you have to bring
the
into
Snowden
consideration.
would be considered somebody.
We might not have
committed
declared
treason.
wars,
Okay.
but we
This
have
is so
cyber wars. We
complicated.
don't have those definitions
Right,
now.
we don't have hot wars, yeah.
So our enlargement of what is war, certainly hacking into. You have to keep up with what's
There's
only
more
have
than
30
one way to
seconds
fight a
left.
war.
We
There's
only
more
have
than one
30
way to fight a
seconds
war,
left.
folks. It's not just arms and troops anymore.
Anyone
It's
got
all
good
the other
news?
stuff.
Can we leave on good news? If something good happens.
Well, we have 15 seconds, and so power to the people is good news.
That's good news. We still
Okay,
have that
yeah.
power.
And peace and fighting for justice.
And we will see everybody next week. Thank you, Emily, for joining us.
Learned with workers' blood, mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud, war has always been the bosses' way, sir. The union forever defending our rights, down with the black leg, the workers unite, with our brothers and our sisters from many far-off lands. There is power in our union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us. But who'll defend the workers who cannot organise when the bosses send cheese?